Alright, so we're picking up on 31. You were supposed to have omitted number 30. 31 is asking you, given this function, find the average rate of change. Okay, average rate of change is just another way of saying slope. Okay, so you need to remember slope formula. You don't have to memorize it, it'll be given. You have a formula chart. It's the change in y over the change in x. Okay, so if you look at what we're given x1 and x1 and x2. So we know both of these, but we don't know our y values. Rather than just giving us the y values, they give us a function. So to get y2 and y1, we're going to have to plug x1 and x2 into this function and find them. So we'll do x1 first. x1 is -3. So if we plug in a -3 to our original function, we have -3 squared plus 4x plus 7. Okay, oh, I meant to plug in a -3 here. That's 9 minus 12 plus 7, which gives you 4. So that is our y1. So when x is -3, y is 4. We're going to do the same thing now for x2. When x2, which is 7, is plugged in, 7 squared plus 4 times 7 plus 7. It's 49 plus 28 plus 7, which is 84. So y2 is 84. So now we have all four pieces for slope formula. So the change in y is 84 minus 4 over the change in x, which is 7 minus -3. Don't forget, minus a negative is actually plus positive. So you end up with 80 over 10, which is 8. So your average rate of change is 8. 32, this is a piecewise function. They ask you when your domain is greater than or equal to -1. So our x's is our domain. So at -1, we are right here, okay, and greater than. So this portion of our piecewise, I'll highlight it in a different color. Let's make it pink. Okay, so they want us to write the equation of this line. Okay, well, equation of a line is y equals mx plus b, where m is your slope and b is your y-intercept. So we're going to look at the graph and find our y-intercept is at +1, so our b is going to be +1. Okay, so that's a 1, and then we can find our slope from our point, starting point to that. We'll check our rise over run. We went up 3 over 1. So 3 divided by 1 is 3. So that's the equation of the line that they're asking for. All right. 33 is an f of x and g of x are given. They want you to find these composite functions. Remember, composite, you rewrite these with the parentheses. Okay, so that's f of g of -4. So -4 isn't going into both of these like the combination functions. It's only going into the g, and we'll get a variable, an answer, and that number is going to be plugged into the f function. So first, let's find g of -4. So our g function is x squared. We're plugging in -4 squared plus 2. That f is still out here. Okay, -4 squared is 16 plus 2 is 18. So we have f of 18. So that means in the f function I'm inputting an 18. So that is 5 minus 2 times 18. 5 minus 36 is -31. Okay, for part B, you're doing the same thing, it's just reversing the order. So G is on the outside, and we're going to put input -4 into the f function. So the f function is 5 minus 2x. The G is still out here. So you have to do your multiplication first. Make sure you're doing the correct order of operations. Okay, so 5 and then -2 times -4 is +8. Okay, so that is G of 18. So if we plug 18 into the G function, oh, I'm sorry, 13. So if we plug 13 into the G function, we have 13 squared plus 2, which is 169, plus 2, which is 171. 34 and 35, these are our direct and inverse variation or proportionality. Remember, if you're given direct variation, that means to multiply k by your variable, and inverse means to divide at k by your variable. So this one says that time to travel between two cities varies inversely. So I just said inversely means we're going to divide, okay, as the speed. So our variables are time and speed. So time is inversely, so k divided by our variable, which is speed, so we'll say s. And you're given values for those. A 10-hour trip, that's time, 10 hours. Okay, and the speed was 60 miles per hour. So we want to find k. So now it's just an algebra problem. Get rid of the 60 by multiplying. So k is 600. K, remember, stands for constant of variation or constant of proportionality. Okay, in number 35, it doesn't specifically say inverse or direct, but it says that these are the same. Okay, so that means they're directly related. So a 2 liter, so liter, and cups are our variables. We'll say L and C. Okay, but if it's direct variation, if they're the same, that means liters is K times C, because they're directly related. So 2 liters is 16 cups. Get rid of the 16 by dividing. So K is 1/8. Okay, 36 is more of our combination and composite functions, except now instead of giving us an equation, they're giving us a graph, and I think these are actually easier. So these two are combination, because they're adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing. So that means the 1 is going into each of these functions. So A can be written as f of 1 minus g of 1. So in the f graph, here's the f graph, we're inputting a 1. So our x value is 1, our output is 2. In the g function, when our input is 1, our output is 3. So that gives you 2 minus 3 is -1. In b, the 4 goes to both, so f of 4 times g of 4. So in the f graph, when your input is 4, your output is 4. When your input is 4, your output is 0. 4 times 0 is 0. C and D are composite because they have the of. So remember, the 1 isn't going to go into both of these. We're going to rewrite them. So f of g of 1. So the first thing we need to find is g of 1, because that's our input. So on the g graph, when we input 1, we get 3. So instead of g of 1, we have 3. And that's going into the f function. So on the f graph, we input a 3 and get 2. D works the same way. It's g of f of 3. So f of 3 is the input. We input a 3 into the f function. That gives us 2. So now we're inputting a 2 into the g function, and that is 2. 37 is asking about turning points. That's exactly what it sounds like. Where does this graph change direction? Where does it turn? So right here it's increasing, and here it changes to decreasing, and here it changes to increasing. So they just want the xy value of those 2 points. This point is at -6, 9. And this point is at -2, and it's not exactly on a number, so you could estimate. You would be given multiple choice on the 9 weeks test, so you would see what is closest. We can say -1.5. It's close enough.